Hi, my name is Nilma. I work for Deaf Plus and I'm the community officer. Hello, my name is Diane. I also work at Deaf Plus as a cleaner.
Welcome to our projects. Is it okay if I just ask you a few questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
I would like to ask you about deaf people accessing employment, and once they're into employment, what support would they get as well?
Well, once they get employment, they need an interpreter. And how do they get that? Through a government-funded scheme, which is called Access to Work. The problem is that a lot of deaf people don't know there is that scheme. Also, the bigger problem is that big companies, they don't know about Access to Work either. So how do deaf people get access to that service? And that's why a lot of people, or big companies also don't know that they can provide deaf people with the necessary equipment for them to live to be in the workplace, like pagers for alarms and things like that.
We have Julie joining us and also Jackie. And we was just talking about disabled people's access to work and support while they're working. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit of your experience, please?
Well, I was just wondering about deaf people, because I know access to work is good when you get a job, but if you're deaf, what support do you get at the job centre? What support do you get in finding a job? And then when you start your work, if you started, say you got accepted for a job, how do you get access to work to kick in straight away? Because I imagine there may well be gaps. Is that true, or is that just me thinking that?
Well, deaf people looking for work, the first thing they do is they go to the job centre to register and they fill in forms, and then they do a search at the job centre between 6 to 8 jobs. So basically they should do search 8 jobs per week, but they don't make it clear at all. They don't explain how to look for work, on the internet, how to apply, if it is the right role for them to apply. A lot of deaf people's English is really poor, it's really low level, they don't understand what they're reading.
Yeah.
They keep printing information for them and give it to them, but there's no point because they don't understand clearly. A few job centres know our company, our charity, which is Deaf Plus, and they refer them to us, and we help them that way.
Okay. Can I ask you your experience, please?
Well, my friend, for example, last Christmas, she was working in Mount Pleasant Post Office, at the sorting office. She was working in the sorting office, and she had a big trolley to push. One supervisor one day approached him and said, you're not allowed to push the trolley. And my friend said, why? What do you mean? And he said, well, it's health and safety. And I thought that's stupid. What's the point? A lot of people push trolleys. Deaf people push trolleys like anybody else. Nilma is saying, I've had actually a similar experience. Jack is saying, I actually have a lot more examples of discrimination against deaf people where they don't even get offered a job. I received a phone call from the job centre yesterday saying, oh, sorry, there's no interpreter, you should start tomorrow. And I said, oh, don't worry, we'll sort it out here at Deaf Plus. And then the following day I received a phone call saying, sorry, it's been cancelled. They don't want him in anymore for the work experience because he's deaf, which really shocked me. I was gobsmacked. He went he didn't even go for the interview, just on the basis that he was deaf, they refused him. So I spoke to my manager and I had a conversation, a quite lengthy and heated conversation. And I could, my interpreter was translating what the person on the phone was saying, and they said, their attitude was, oh, don't worry too much, in any case, you get DLA, because they get DLA because you're deaf, so what's the problem? I was absolutely gobsmacked. I thought, that's not the role of the job centre, it's not for them to say. They should treat all clients in the same way. I was really, really cross.
Can I just say, that is disgusting. We have much the same problems being dyslexic, and when an employer finds out that we've got this condition of dyslexia, they think, oh, they can't read, they can't write, is it worth employing this person? And we never seem to get access to, good jobs. So I really think it's discrimination. I think maybe we should try to get support through the Equality Act and the Disability Act as well, and get something done about it. What do you think?
Well, I think it's disgraceful. I think what is even more upsetting than the fact that the job's not available for deaf people is the fact that that person was all set to work, was very happy, was very excited about having the placement, and was all set to go, and then it was cancelled at the last minute. And I think, the upset to that person is great, and you can't measure that. You can't put a price on it. You can't put a cost on it. But I think what's really shocking is that the job centre accepted it. The job centre should be acting on our behalf. They should be challenging discrimination.
Yeah, that's what I thought Neil was saying, exactly. I thought they would have challenged them.
Yeah.
Diane is saying, I went to Maidstone Job Centre and they had a list of about 8 jobs. And the person said, if you're looking for work, just have a look at this list. And obviously I saw the list, but it was very difficult for me to understand. You don't understand, I said, you're all hearing. And the communication with that woman was absolutely awful, it was very difficult. But luckily there was someone else who could sign. But her colleague was absolutely difficult to understand, really, really awful. The job centre is really difficult.
This is not the first time that happens.
Jack is saying, this is not the first time, this happens all the time. It doesn't stop, believe me. A lot of deaf people at the moment, they work really low jobs, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda. They're all clever, they have skills, but
people like company or anything.
But big companies, they don't, they think deaf people can't work.
Really, not fair.
It's not really fair.
Well, I mean,
Do you think the job centre have any idea about deaf culture? Do you think they?
no,
No,
deaf
don't,
awareness, like
They
I
have
said earlier.
no deaf awareness.
deaf
Like I
awareness,
said earlier,
isn't it?
absolutely no deaf awareness at
All
all.
job centres are the same.
Believe me, and they're all the same.
So they just think that deaf people are just people who can't hear, and they don't realise that if they give you something that's written down on a piece of paper, that doesn't necessarily make it accessible to you.
A lot of deaf people always say yes as well. That's another issue, but really they don't understand. You give them a piece of paper. Sometimes they've been given a piece of paper. They come to me, and I have to translate it for them. Like for example, if you want to book an interpreter, you should be able to book an interpreter for an interview with the job centre. And the job centre people say, oh no, just bring a friend, you know, bring a friend or a family member, we'll sort it out the way, or we'll write things down and you know. But deaf people suffer the break in communication regularly, even with issues with their benefits, you know, they receive letters they don't understand, and it affects the way they receive their benefits. It's really stressful, and it's all because of their lack of communication skills with deaf people.
What would you say to the government about the situation for deaf people?
Well, the funny thing is that I did write to the MP actually, and the MP said, oh, you know, we have a sensory team, and it's every month or so, but I don't know anything about it. I'm not sure if it has happened, you know, where's the information?
Yeah. So, if you had the Minister for Disabled People in front of you, what would you say to her as deaf people? What would you want to say to her that you needed to happen as deaf people to change?
Oh, I would say a lot of things. I would be able to meet them. A lot of things. There are millions of issues, Jackie saying. It'd take hours on end.
Perhaps have you got 2 key points that you'd like to get over to the Minister?
Well, we would definitely talk about equal opportunities, the DLA, accessibility for deaf people. Where's the borough support? I know that the Westminster Council has also a service for the deaf that's been closed. So, you know, we need more funding for each borough so that they can set up services for deaf people. We're lucky at Deaf Plus, really. And we have a lot of people from Newham. We're really busy.